If you hear the name World of Warcraft, several ideas and images may come to mind. Maybe it's naked night elves dancing through the streets of Stormwind, maybe it's a creative machinima music video on YouTube, or maybe it's a sweaty nerd behind a desk getting all worked up because they didn't get the right pants to dress up their Barbie doll the way they wanted to. But if you are at all familiar with WoW, even in the slightest, you may have heard the phrase, "It doesn't get good until the endgame." The game has had this reputation for quite a while, probably since Nixiom's lair if we're being honest, which has led to the general culture of skipping quest dialogue, min-maxing questing zones and routes, and my least favorite, level boosts, so you can play the game without ever actually needing to play the game. This way of thinking has become so standard throughout the years that you even have some of the top WoW creators echoing these ideas of just kind of coasting through the game until max level, treating the leveling experience as some kind of menial chore like washing the dishes rather than a fun activity to do while you're procrastinating your IRL dishwashing duties.
Level 1 as God intended, and what awaits you? Well, honestly, a whole lot of boring as hell content, that's what.
But if the game sucks until you hit max level, then what in the name of Malfurion Stormrage's unwashed loincloth is the point of this? WoW has had this free trial for years. It's changed since its inception, adding races, removing limited game time, things like that, but that doesn't change the fact that it still exists. And if the community is right, and the game is actually terrible until you hit max level, then this free trial is just a waste of resources for Blizzard, right? If you're showing off the worst parts of your game, then you'll never get new players, right? Well, that's what we're going to figure out today. But first, let's establish the purpose of this free trial. In general, I believe that it targets three groups of people. First, people who are familiar with the MMO genre, but have not played the game before. We won't be focusing on this group as there's dozens of videos like that all over YouTube. I recommend this one by Syncweaver. Second, there are returning players. People who have fallen off the game for various reasons and are thinking of coming back but want to know if the game is actually as fun as they remember or if they're just chasing a nostalgia dragon or a new X-Pack hype. This is the category that I fall into. I started my journey through Azeroth way back on my daycare provider's computer as her husband showed me his cool new game called Warcraft, and from then on, I was hooked. From playing Warcraft 2 on my cousin's computer for hours on end whenever we would visit, to using my birthday money to buy the Reign of Chaos and Frozen Throne battle chest, to shelling out for Wrath of the Lich King the day my family got internet fast enough to play online games. Eventually, life got in the way, and I went from not logging on for a week to a month or two until I was skipping about every other expansion. As of writing the intro to this script, I haven't played since before the first patch of Battle for Azeroth, and Dragonflight released a week ago, meaning that I've had an almost 5-year break from the game, placing me perfectly in the second category. And the third group of people that this free trial targets, in my opinion, is people that have never played an MMO, but are interested in the game. This is the real test and purpose of this video, and after discussing it over drinks at the local distillery, and a foot rub, I convinced my wife to help with this experiment and to put the World of Warcraft free trial through its paces. She has agreed to play the free trial through its level cap, and while I have not given her any strict instructions as to what she needs to do, she has promised to approach this as if she is seriously looking to sink a ton of time and effort into this game, and as someone who has toured her Animal Crossing island, she is clearly willing to sink hundreds of hours into a game if she finds it fun. On top of that, she will be approaching this as if I don't exist. The only thing I have done for her is set up her recording software on her computer the way I want it to for editing purposes. She will be getting no help from me. No key binding help, no setting help, no explaining mechanics. She does not know any of the resources that most seasoned WoW players rely on, and to top it all off, she's pretty technologically illiterate. This will be an incredible stress test for both her and the free trial. But she does love the world. She loves the design and the aesthetic, and has always loved watching the intro cinematics with me. If there was ever a person who fits into the third category, it's her. So WoW, this isn't a challenge for me, this is a challenge for you. Can your free trial convince my wife to continue playing your game? Or at the very least, not chase her away as she plays through what your community says is the worst part of the game? As a baseline for this experiment, I will also be playing the free trial as someone who has both played this game before and also has a much more extensive background in the MMO genre, just to see if any of the problems that she has were the fault of the game or just an unfamiliarity of the genre of the game, as well as to determine any differences in our experiences within the free trial. I'm not saying it will happen, but it wouldn't be out of the question for a game to push addictive and habit-forming gameplay experiences onto a previously established player like me much harder than they would on a new player like my wife, who they may potentially scare off by doing so. But before we get started, let's meet the lady of the hour, who will henceforth be known as Wife. So, you are my wife.
Yes.
I'm
pretty certain of this at this point.
You're certain of this at this point.
Well, I've been living in the same house with you for a while, and we share a bed, so I'm assuming...
At the very least, we're common law. The thing in the church was just for show, right? So this is just to get a baseline of, like, where you're at. What kind of games do you generally play?
I do a lot of Animal Crossing, Five Nights at Freddy's, Sims.
Are there any games that don't fit inside your usual type of game that you've played that you've enjoyed despite not being your typical choice?
I Am Bread was a great one for me. I had a lot of fun with that. I'm not huge into puzzle games, but I liked Portal. Breath of the Wild. That was a fun one. I get way too distracted in that game.
What are you generally looking for in a game?
Honestly, to be entertained. That's the whole point of a game.
What will make you continue to play a game?
Keep my interest, and I have to be able to feel like I'm getting somewhere. If I'm stuck, I'm not going to keep playing unless I'm fun wherever the hell I ended up being stuck.
Have you ever played an MMO before?
When I was in junior high, we did some RuneScape, yeah.
You got level 20 in woodcutting and then just dropped it, right?
I don't think I even did that. I think I just ran around, did nothing.
Well,
I can't remember too much.
That's RuneScape. Do you consume any MMO-related content?
Some YouTubers who do MMO stuff.
Josh Strife Hayes.
Josh Strife Hayes is a big one, because I enjoy watching the worlds.
Have you ever seen World of Warcraft advertising?
I get the new Dragon one on almost every commercial I get on YouTube right now.
And you've also seen like the game intros and trailers and stuff like that. I do know you like those.
Well, that's how I started making Cindergosa, as you showed me the intros. They look nice.
What do you know about World of Warcraft?
When you say MMO, it's World of Warcraft. It's been around since computers pretty much have been around by the looks of things, and there's 1,001 different branching stories.
What do you expect to get out of a free trial of a game?
A sampler of what I can expect from the game. It'll give me a taste of, here's what you can do, here's how you play, here's the world. Do you like it? You can get more.
So you expect to at least get a taste of everything?
Enough that I could know what's coming at me. Like, I expect to know, like, the basic mechanics, the basic world, kind of get a little preview of it all.
What would make a free trial disappointing?
If there was nothing you could really do without having to actually buy, and it was just more of a tease than anything else. Like, it says you could ride a dragon, I'd best be able to be riding that dragon. But if you have to pay the money to ride the dragon, that's not a free trial anymore.
Are there any stereotypes or, like, rumors, etc., that you've heard that may cause you to have any bias in this game?
I've heard some things about the company at one point, Blizzard. As far as the game itself, I tend to stay out of communities anyways, because it ruins the fun for me, because you get a lot of mean people just in general.
Every fan base
has the toxic ones.
Yeah.
So I just stay out of them, because I find it more fun that way, because I can actually just simply enjoy it and not be told you're enjoying it wrong.
Are there any stereotypes you've heard that may cause you to have bias towards this game?
The only thing I ever really hear is it can get quite addicting, but that could be any games.
Yeah.
You can get addicted to anything.
Do you have any expectations that need to be met while playing this game?
Again, if it's a free trial, I expect to be taught essentially how do you play this game. I don't play MMOs, so it needs to tell me here's XYZ. A little hand-holding in the beginning to get my feet wet. My expectation is to be able to actually enjoy and actually play without, like, I need the wiki. What the hell's going on?
All right, and last question. Do you hate me for doing this to you?
Ask me again when we're done.
Okay.
I'm excited now, but we'll see what happens later.
I hope you enjoy the game then. All right, WoW, your challenge begins now. My wife began her day like any other, perfecting her custom fursuit while I began mine sharpening my teeth for war. By the way, ignore the activate Windows prompt on my wife's computer. Her motherboard died and I haven't transferred the key to the new one yet. And for this first recording, my wife didn't realize that she had accidentally opened 3 instances of the game at once, so if there are some audio issues and you hear menu audio, that's why. Give her a break, technology is not her forte. I grabbed a sword and board, wife grabbed a knife, and we were both on our way into a world of adventure. Right away, our journey was off to a very different start. She had never played a tab target game before and was having an interesting time learning the controls, while I struggled with the fact that I was very familiar with controls but was trying to use my custom keybinds from Final Fantasy XIV by muscle memory. My own time on the boat was also spoiled by the fact that a bug had occurred that I had not picked up on yet, but it would prove to be a source of extreme frustration towards the game for the next hour, but more on that when it becomes relevant. We both washed up on shore and our task was stealing back our medical supplies, and almost immediately our gameplay diverges. With my advanced knowledge of the game, I turned on auto loot, while she, without any tooltip to guide her, was forced to loot each corpse individually like some kind of city rat. Also, here's where the bug I talked about starts to show its ugly face. Am I not high enough level yet? It wasn't until I watched back her footage that I realized how different our experiences were. but while she was getting proper and prompt tutorial boxes explaining what she was interacting with, I was not. My HUD had no minimap, my tutorial prompts were missing or late, and it all accumulated in this quest that forced me to use an attack that was not even on my hotbar yet, while the game had neither prompted me to look at my spellbook nor alerted me that I had gained that ability in the first place. While my wife was enjoying her time actually learning how to stab someone more efficiently, I was getting frustrated with how badly I thought that this tutorial had been programmed. This bug has a pretty simple fix, just relaunch the game. But at the time, I didn't know that it was a bug. And judging from the fact that I later found several threads online also complaining of missing HUD elements exactly like my issue, it's not exactly an uncommon problem. In my opinion, this is something that needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. Can you imagine what this would have been like if it had happened on my wife's end rather than mine? Any new player experiencing this bug in the tutorial would probably never touch this game again, and that's one less potential sale for Blizzard. While I was getting frustrated with bugs, wife was actually enjoying herself and finding the game intuitive enough to understand even without too much help. However, while reviewing the footage, I noticed some small details that would make the tutorial even better. For example, while she did figure out on her own how to compare armor values, I am of the opinion that it would be better for the game to give the prompt press shift to compare a piece of armor with what you are already wearing. I may sound nitpicky, but these are small things that add up in the long run. If you're going to show someone how to make a PB&J sandwich, you don't start with get your flour, eggs, and sugar to make bread. You teach them the easiest way to do things and then add more advanced stuff as they get more comfortable with the task. Showing a player the most roundabout and long-winded way to do things is an easy way for them to make your game seem tedious and boring, and an easy way for them to write off your game as unfun and not worth their time. Look at me, doing QA for a multi-billion-dollar company for free like an idiot. Moving on a bit, here is where it's a bit of a toss-up as to whose fault this mistake is. The wife spent the better part of 5 minutes looking for the Scout-O-Matic 5000 to continue with this quest. She was under the impression that it was an item and was looking for either someone to give it to her or for it somewhere in her bags.
Oh, I could ride it? Okay, so we're looking at a mount?
While this could be considered an embarrassing oversight on her part, the game also never actually taught her how to zoom out the camera, nor gave any hint that it wasn't an item aside from the small cutscene that she missed because a tutorial was telling her to mess with her character menu at the time. On top of that, the game was now giving her another tutorial on how to add a button to her hotbar during a time where she could not physically add a button to her hotbar, leading to her eventually bugging out the game by kicking the board to make it charge and bugging out her pointer to be stuck as the kick icon without ever actually adding it to her hotbar. It's all a big, beautiful mess. Meanwhile, on my end, I had finally noticed that my minimap was missing and reloaded to fix it. While this did fix my HUD, my tutorials still continued to pop up late or give irrelevant information. Thankfully, nothing has really changed in the last 5 years, and they weren't really needed for me. After clearing out an undead horde, we both accepted our class quests. Depending on what class you play in this zone, your quest here will change in order to teach you how to play your class, and honestly, this is the biggest fumble in the entire free trial, if you ask me. As a warrior, I just had to kill an unkillable enemy by lowering his health enough to perform a coup de grace with execution. Wife gathered some poison for her daggers, but due to the earlier bug with the kick, I think the game forgot to give her the prompt to put the poison on her hotbar, which is required for the next quest, which ended in...
And I'm pretty sure that's me dead.
She eventually did find the poison button, but after clicking it and seeing that she got the buff, she thought it was an item, not an ability, and closed the window without actually adding it to her hotbar. Listen, devs, I understand why you want a player to open their spellbook in the tutorial. You want to show them where all their abilities will be, and that's all well and good, but why can't you just add new abilities to the hotbar automatically and then show the player the spellbook to use as a reference? Even I, an experienced player, hated that whenever I leveled up, I needed to go find my new ability rather than just being given it. You already automatically add spells and abilities to my hotbar once we're off this island. Why does it have to be different here? It doesn't make any sense. But as far as these class quests go, these are a pitiful excuse for teaching moments. As a warrior, I should be taught how to interrupt spells, how to gain aggro in order to keep enemies off my allies, and how to juggle multiple enemies in order to keep my rage building. As for my wife, she should be taught how to stealth and sneak attack, pick off weaker foes to help clear trash, and maybe do a bit of lockpicking. However, for both of us, our class quest basically just taught us to click 2 buttons with no context as to why we're clicking those 2 buttons. My wife didn't even realize she didn't need to unstealth in order to attack. Her entire time playing, she never knew that the ambush ability existed. Every time she would approach an enemy, unstealth, and then start attacking. It was actually a little painful to watch while editing. But that didn't hold her back, as she, using only 3 abilities, stormed the ogre encampment, freed some members of the Alliance, and killed an undead dragon, with me doing the same for the Horde with little complications. And with the dragon defeated and our companions rescued, we flew off in the distance to our capital cities, she to Stormwind and I to Orgrimmar. Being a previous Horde player, I found my way through the city with no issues aside from my guide being a little slow for my liking. Picking up my ability to use mounts, specializing my class, and picking up my Hearthstone with no issues. Wife, on the other hand,
Ooh, look at his mount. I might want to stick to the path at least somewhat, otherwise I am gonna get stuck somewhere. How the hell do I activate this?
She eventually figured it out, as well as realizing that she had new equipment to put on, and proved her mastery of bartering with the local merchants.
I have no clue what I'm doing, so no. Nothing specific. Just clearing out some inventory space of stuff I'm not going to be using. Okay.
We both met with the leaders of our faction and were immediately thrown into the deep end of the story with not even a rubber duck to try and keep our heads above water. This, for both her and I, was the single most confusing thing to happen in the entire free trial. We've gone, in a single day, from being a new recruit to being champions of the realm, and now emissaries of our factions to parlay with foreign powers in hopes to gain the power of their military might. I'm sorry, what? How did this happen? When did this happen? Why did this happen? I understand the need to get new players to endgame and therefore the end of the current story swiftly so as not to keep them separated from any friends that may have gotten them into this game, but this is a speedrun up the corporate ladder that would make any Super Mario World speedrunner's jaw drop in disbelief. At this point, wife just flat out gave up on trying to follow the story and embrace the true WoW experience.
Oh, I guess I'm on my map. We're gonna go do what's ever on the map.
And while she escaped the dungeon, I played with dinosaurs. Okay. The rest of my playthrough was pretty standard as far as what I expected from a WoW playthrough. I did quests, I leveled up, and while my reasoning for being where I am and why is confusing, the general stories of the quests themselves were just as quirky and fun as I remember them being. My favorite of which being these two trying to save an endangered species of dinosaur, so I helped them give the female some flowers and a meal to set the mood, and the male some sildenafil. Remember kids, do not use Viagra if your heart is not healthy enough for sexual activity. Neither strategy works, so I team up with the male to give the female some head, which puts her in the mood for some lovin', and the species... Why? You ruined that, it was a good take. Perfect writing, 10 out of 10. All in all, the free trial took me only about 5 hours to reach max level. And that was with a lot of shenanigans of checking if things like professions were available in the free trial. I probably would have finished it in 4 if I hadn't done any of that. However, for wife, her journey was just getting started. At this point, she has neither realized that she has abilities in her spellbook that can help her fight, nor that she has not just the standard backpack, but multiple bags containing tons of armor and weapons that she has picked up from quest rewards and not put on, causing her to spend the next 15 minutes in jail trying to escape. I warned you, WoW, this is the ultimate test of your free trial. This is how she discovered the wonders of corpse runs and repair bills. She wandered through the city looking for someone to repair her weapons, and even had the idea to check her map to see if it would give her any information. Unfortunately, she did not have a legend to tell her what all the symbols in her minimap meant, and had no idea that this tiny button in the corner would give her all the info she would need, and was increasingly frustrated with the fact that the full-size map gave no information on anything besides the layout of the city. As much as I like the look of the cleaner UI that was introduced in Dragonflight, it feels like it was designed with larger monitors in mind. And I also have to say that I think separating the minimap options from the minimap itself was a mistake. Even I was confused when I tried to locate it on my end. If it wasn't for the fact that I knew the button had to exist like it did in the past, I would have been in a similar boat if I was in her shoes. She was briefly distracted by the fact that she was getting rested bonus because it had failed to be explained to her.
Why is my character having Z's come out? Is that sleepy?
And she continued to wander the city with Talia at her heels, having given up looking for someone to fix her weapons and instead deciding to buy new ones. Not that she was too upset at the fact that she couldn't find someone to help her, as she was enjoying exploring the city and taking in the sights.
It's a fun town to explore, I will admit that.
After taking a few days off for general life stuff, she returned to the game, and while I was helping her set up to record, we got this little slice of irony that neither of us noticed at the time.
Oh, perfect timing, it just finished loading. You want me to get to level 20, you said? That's the cutoff?
I showed her this clip when I found it, and she defended herself by saying, "If the game throws up 20 pop-ups at the same time, do you really think I'm going to pay attention to them?" Unfortunately, she would spend the next 2 hours making no progress and getting more and more frustrated. Kinda like your typical raid night. She wandered the city, completely lost in the slums with no weapons to protect herself, looking for any merchant selling weapons or someone to repair the ones she already had.
This. Anchorman. Not what I'm looking for.
If you're in pain watching this, imagine editing 2 hours of footage like this. As she continued about the town, she tried her best to be a true friend of the people, helping how she could while empty-handed, becoming friend to fishermen and bare-fisted menace to thugs who tried to jump her in the streets. For 2 hours, she wandered the city, and for 2 hours, I didn't blame her for this mistake. The game only told her that her weapons were broken and to get them repaired, but did not tell her where to go or what symbol to look for. Hi, editing me here. Turns out I'm wrong on this one. While scrubbing through footage, I did manage to find this. However, this popped up mid-combat when she was kind of fighting for her life and was only on screen for about, 5 seconds before she clicked off it to get out of her way. So while I'm wrong that the game did tell her what to do, I do say that this is a terrible way to tell this mechanic, and it never popped up again, ever, in the entire time she was running around the city. So, GG. The bag thing, though, that's on her. Again, I asked her about this later, and she defended herself by saying, "It only ever told me to open my bags by clicking the first slot. Those other things next to it don't even look like bags. Why would I look at that and think, that's a bag?" She did eventually find a place to buy new weapons, at a pet store, and decided to continue on with her quest now that she could actually kill things. After sitting through a briefing, she decided to take the quest that she had picked up when she first entered the harbor. A Dying World is a quest that helps introduce one of the main story concepts in Battle for Azeroth, and while she picked it up in Kultiris, the quest wants her to talk to Magni Bronzebeard in Silithus. This is a mistake that I think every new player makes. I've done it, my friends have done it, accepting a quest that takes you across the world with no idea how to get there, and it always will eventually lead you to the portal room. After a boat ride to Stormwind and jumping into a portal, she found her way to the Caverns of Time. And after trying to enter the Well of Eternity and failing, she eventually found her way into Tunaris with no armor. After corpse walking through Tunaris and Ungoro, and finally remembering that she's a rogue and can stealth past enemies, she finally made it to Silithus with broken weapons. At this point, she was sitting at a playtime of a little under 5 hours and getting incredibly frustrated. The game was no longer giving her any clues as to what she should do aside from the collections button in the corner occasionally flashing, which she never noticed. Nor would it have helped if she had. Again, this is a problem that I also personally have with the Dragonflight UI. The old WoW designs were big and chunky, but the buttons were so much more obvious whenever they would flash and show you something new. She continued through Silithus killing lizards. No, not mob lizards, rodent lizards, because she thought they would give her XP. And meeting Magni finally, after her vast, globe-trotting journey across 2 continents, she finally talked to the dwarf to receive nothing. This is dead content and a dead-end quest. This broke her. She flat out told me that if it wasn't for the fact that I was making a video of this, she would have stopped right then and there and hated me for making her play this game if it was just going to drag her across the world and dump her in some godforsaken pit. And I have to agree. This quest is useless. They've gotten rid of the rest of the quest line following this. Why have the beginning of it available for any fresh-faced adventurer to pick up and stumble across the world just to have the reward be a waste of your time? At this point, she was level 12 and I had asked her to reach level 20, but I think we have a general idea of how the rest of this is gonna go. So let's just see some highlights. Running around on foot, complaining that it's too slow because the horse that she was given is still sitting in her bag and the collection screen keeps trying to show her how to use mounts, but she doesn't have a mount on that screen, so it's of no use to her. Trying to figure out how to fast travel, but not knowing how to fast travel because the flight system was never explained to her. Having a Hearthstone, but not knowing how to use a Hearthstone because it was explained to her in a giant block of text that she clicked past hours ago. Dying, corpse running, trying to find a crafting system to repair her weapons because instead of repairing her weapons, she started juggling between gray weapons that drop from mobs when her current weapons break. Finally finding out how to repair items, but not repairing her armor. Accidentally getting on a boat to Pandaria, finding the repair items button but not actually clicking it because she just spent the better part of 2 minutes going through her inventory repairing gear, but still not repairing her armor. Finally finding the armor that's been in her bag since Exile's Reach and her poor horse that's been sitting next to it, using the repair all button for the first time at level 15, using her horse for the first time at level 15, enjoying the sights, questing, dying, did we get to that one yet? And finally, after 16 hours and 23 minutes of time in the free trial, hitting level 20. So, let's hear from the lady herself to see how she found the whole experience. You have just finished a free trial of World of Warcraft.
That I did.
Judging from the sounds I heard from the other room, I'm just kind of let you spill your guts out, and I will facilitate the conversation.
Well, as he said, it's my first time playing WoW, and in general, this was the first time I took a real play at an MMO. The closest thing I could say I played before is like Breath of the Wild. Honestly, I was not sure what I was going to get into. I actually really enjoyed this character creation, and there was maybe a dozen choices, which was a perfect amount. It wasn't so many that I spent an hour trying to figure out where to go. It's very clear, just enough choices to have a character choice, but not so much that I got boggled down. Even when I got into the hair and the eyes, there's like maybe 6 or 7 choices each. I like that. Half the time it gets too bogged down with too many little details that you'll never see. I actually enjoyed the beginning of the tutorial. If I remember, we were on a ship. It talked me through it. It wasn't terribly complicated. And it's like, okay, go talk to so-and-so. And they said, here's how you do this. Let's try it out. It was very good. It held my hand the right amount where it's like instructing me, this is how you use these things. And I'm figuring it out. It was fun. I was actually really expecting not to enjoy this game. I don't like involved with other people in my games, which is one thing I found while playing that I really do enjoy. You could turn PvP on and off. I love that. I get spawn camps. Yep. And they'll kill a game faster than anything else.
You're a PvE player, not a PvP.
Yep.
We've learned through Sea of Thieves.
Well, if I spawn and I die repeatedly, I can't play the game. So that's a big reason why I hate anything that involves other people, is it ruins the game for me because I can't just enjoy it. So I love the fact that I could just turn that off and I don't have to worry about it. All MMOs need that. Anything that has other people needs that option. So that was amazing. And I was worried about how complicated the fighting and everything would be because there's so many buttons. Started me off great. And then I ended up on a boat, and I had no clue what the hell happened. I was dropped into another world. All of a sudden, I was in front of a king being told I'm a champion, and then all of a sudden, I had a quest that took me through a myriad of places that I don't think I was supposed to go through. Basically, when I had a quest, I would follow the marker, which I liked. It helped me get me where I was going. I ended up in a wizard tower, through a portal into a time warp of some sort. Couldn't go through another portal, had to go back through, ended up in a desert that I had no clue how I got there on a different continent. But I had my marker still, so I kept following it. I no joke, walked for about 3 hours trying to get to wherever the hell I was supposed to go, just to talk to one dude in an area that was way over my levels. I have no clue how I got that mission, or if I misread something and I just shouldn't have done it. But I got it, and he gave me no mission after that.
Do you know what a Hearthstone is?
Isn't that something you click and it takes you back home?
Do you remember them ever explaining how the Hearthstone system works?
Nope. I just found in it. I was looking through my bag. What is all this crap? Hearthstone. Click to return to place. Oh, cool. Moved on. I never found a reason to go back because I was just trying to follow the game. And that's the thing I found. There was no storyline that I could find. Like, I was following somebody. She was like someone with the sea for a while. Then all of a sudden I'm over here with this. But I figured if I followed one person, it'd take me down one story. It does not. It was a bit bizarre. I did love the look of the game. It's stylized, but still very readable. I got lost in the cities quite often because they were very vertical. I spent probably another hour or so trying to find a shop to buy new blades. After I found out mine had broken, they had given me no indication that I lost my blades. It didn't, like in Breath of the Wild, your web breaks, it's a big scatter, you see it. This, it gave me no indication that something is gone. So I figured, okay, there's gotta be a weapon shop. That's a basic thought to go through. The stores are not labeled on the map. Nothing is labeled. I cannot find it. All the stores are just having names. And I found a auction house. That's how I finally got new blades. I could not find a repair shop. I could not find a weapon shop. And I explored that city for quite some time trying to find something. Also, I learned you cannot run away from a fight. If I get jumped, I have to fight them or die. There is no way out that I can find. I cannot outrun an enemy. I cannot, disorient him and run. I am stuck in combat. And that drove me insane. You should always be able to run from a fight. The combat system itself, I actually did enjoy. It wasn't too bad. And my bar eventually filled up. It was 10 attacks, I think, you get. And I kind of was figuring them out. And that's something I think with more time and practice, I would get better at. I don't know if I just missed it, but there's no main story. I didn't get bonded to anything that was happening. Because I kept getting juggled from one place to another place. I'm in with the
You were
pandas.
just kind of dropped into it.
Yeah, I was dropped into a world. I talked to the king.
It was like starting Harry Potter in book 6.
Yeah. It's like, what's going on? And you experienced it after the tutorial, which was really nice
And
setup.
I know the characters. I know the lore.
Yeah.
Up through Legion, I know the lore fairly well. And I got dropped into what's going on now?
Yeah. You and I had the same experience where the beginning starts you off, you're a new recruit, here's what's going on. And all of a sudden you're in front of the king, oh, here's our new champion. I did nothing here yet. My thought was if I followed the main quests, what I assumed were the main quests, I would follow the main storyline. And that's where I wanted to start. And, do side quests as I go. As far as I found, there is no main story.
If someone told you you had to go through 300 hours of story before you hit endgame, or the endgame you can get to very fast, but you're going to be confused, which of those?
I'd rather go through a lot of story to get to endgame, because why get to end if you didn't engage in the game? I want to, jumping into these mythical worlds, I want to be a part of this world. I want to experience what this is. If I get to endgame and it's big battle, all done, it's like I didn't feel anything. You don't feel something unless you bond to it. I'm on the Alliance side, but I don't even know what the whole fight's about. They did not explain the Alliance versus Horde. I only know that because I know of World of Warcraft. They did not make me feel like I need to fight the Horde. It was just, you're here. You're team blue versus red. That's all it was.
All these animals have wanted nothing to do with us.
Until we try to record.
For 4 hours now, and then they all want our attention. What the hell, guys?
Of course. But that being said, there's some things I really liked. I actually just finished the part where there was a depressed panda on the ground waiting for the vultures to take him. He refused to go home, so I kicked him all the way home. And he just rolled. I laughed. That was when I was laughing hard. I thought that was hilarious. It's a good game.
Do you think you would enjoy it more if you were playing with someone who could help shepherd you through?
That might not be a bad thing if I had somebody to explain a few things and help me figure a few things out.
Are there things that the game definitely needs in its tutorial?
Yeah. I also didn't know I could only use a one-handed weapon in my right hand, otherwise I can't use my basic strike. So I'd grab 2 swords just as what I had in my backpack at the time. I couldn't do my attacks because they're not the right type. It did not explain this until I'm mid-battle. A little more personalized, you're a rogue, this is how you play.
We both agree that the tutorial island is hands down the best part about the free trial.
Yes.
Yeah. However, do you think there should be a second tutorial, maybe an initial tutorial of class specific?
Mm-hmm.
How you play your class is the first tutorial, then
I'd
how
almost
you
put
play
it as a second, because the first one was good at, okay, here's the physicalities of how to attack, here's how you gather.
And then
but then there should have been a point where, teach me how to be a rogue.
You get to the city and they're like, oh, you're a rogue.
Go talk to X and you'll get figured.
We have a mission that only a rogue can solve.
Something to teach me how to be a rogue. I also found there's a lot of info dumps where I didn't want to spend most of my game reading. I skimmed a lot, because I don't mind a little bit here and there, but if I have to spend half an hour reading, it's not fun.
That is honestly, in my opinion, the weakest part of WoW, where it's here's a quest, and you could have the most beautiful lore ever, but the fact that it's all given to you in one yellow page chunk, it's literally I'll read the first 2 sentences of so-and-so needs a letter delivered to her lover in such and such, and then you just skim, it's deliver letter from here to here. Okay, fine.
I do like that. Here's what they're saying, but here's your quest. It was easy to just read the quest, but I think because I just read the quest, I got lost. But if I had to spend a lot of time reading, that's not what I'm looking for in a game. I don't need it to be high action all the time, but if it's important, read it to me. Put it into a little scene, something.
Two sentences or less.
Yeah, keep it simple. Like I said, if I kept playing with it, I could probably figure it out, but it's going to be me figuring out the game did not teach me how to play as my character. So like, let's say you're in the beginning, you're choosing your class. Having just a little 2-minute video of, here's your basics of how this, you want to be a rogue? Here's how they play. Okay, I don't like being stealthy. I don't like this. And that way you could kind of look a little more, because it very little info when you're actually selecting which one.
This is going to be a weird reference. Otherland.
Mm-hmm.
So we both watched Josh Strife Hayes' Otherland. Check out Josh Strife Hayes' Otherland series. But they have not a tutorial level, but a tryout level where before you start, you choose your class and it throws you into a hologram of like, here's the class with all the abilities unlocked. Try it out for a few minutes.
I like that. Yeah, something like that I think would be great. Yeah, obviously WoW's doing something right since they are the MMO still. Like, I think Final Fantasy gave them a run for their money for a bit, but WoW has the years. Everybody knows it. Even if you don't play, people have heard of it. You can recognize the box art. Like, it's very distinct. And like I said, it is a beautiful game. It's semi-user friendly. Like, if you're willing to put in some notepad and work to it, you could probably figure it out. But if you're just a casual gamer, I wouldn't recommend it.
As for me, I enjoyed my time in the free trial. It scratched an itch that I've had since the Dragonflight cinematic dropped, but it failed to entice me to resub. And I'll tell you why. I think that the free trial is a failure on 2 counts. But not because it takes place in the worst part of the game. Both my wife and I had fun. I've always had a blast leveling alts, as long as we don't include rep grinds. And if it only gets better from there, then that fact should drive us forward into purchasing the full game and subscription. But if it isn't the leveling process that drives us away, then what is it? Well, the first way I think it fails is that it boils down to the fact that this game fills needs that we already have filled, and does nothing to make itself more enticing than our other options. I love WoW combat. It's gritty, fast-paced, and that feeling of biting off just a little more than you can chew and coming out on top with my screen flashing red and my potions on cooldown is a feeling that I love. But why would I play this game when I already have several others that fill this desire for brutal combat and strategy? My wife loves beautiful environments and art and will spend hours in game just wandering around and enjoying the creativity of the people who created it. But why would she do that when she's being attacked at every turn, when she can do that in so many other games without being interrupted and becoming frustrated by dying? And we both love stories. Even if a game has nothing new to offer or has a style we don't completely enjoy, both of us have been known to put aside gameplay if it means we can go on an exciting journey. And while WoW has some great lore outside of the game, the actual main story within is so broken, jagged, and contrived that it's hard to actually care for it in the first place. Going from some new recruit to the baddest badass that ever did badass in the span of 3 quests is the most jarring experience I've ever seen. It would be like some guy walked in and invited you to the White House, and then the president tells you that you're now in charge of brokering a peace deal between Russia and the Ukraine. What do you know about diplomacy? You're just some sweaty nerd watching some loser's video on YouTube. The second way that I think this free trial fails is WoW's reliance on outside help. It all has to do with a design philosophy that I'm unsure that even the Blizzard devs are fully aware that they are building this game with. A concept that I like to call community-supported game design. Now, this is not a bad thing. In fact, every game developer dreams of the day that the community loves their games so much that they will continue to expand the life of the game through mods, videos, fan art, and all manner of other things in order to keep the hype up and drive sales. Heck, games like Minecraft and Gary's Mod are games driven almost completely by this design concept. But for World of Warcraft, the development of this game has been leaning more and more heavily on the community for support for years. Do you want to know how to be viable in PvP or how to play your class? Look at this guide. Is healing hard in the game? Download this mod to make it easier. Do you want to know the story of the game? This guy has a YouTube channel with 900 hours of content to get you caught up. Don't worry, it's only been retconned about 20 times. The more and more content that the community has made, the more that WoW has left for the community to be in charge of. The community is not at fault for being passionate enough to be creative and express their love for this game in their own way. But it is Blizzard's fault for leaving it up to the community to fix their shortcomings. they've gone from using the community to help drive the direction of the game's future to essentially using them as free labor. This concept expands into the free trial as well. The more I discussed this with my wife, the more I came to the conclusion that my initial idea as to who this free trial is being advertised to was wrong. It is my new understanding that this free trial isn't being marketed to new players or returning players, it's being marketed to existing and entrenched players. A WoW player will see the free trial and think, maybe I convince my friend or my spouse or my sibling to play with me with this free trial. If an existing player is used as a supplemental marketing tool to sell the game to someone they know, then they are more likely to play alongside that new person and assist in covering up any shortcomings that the tutorial and free trial have, leading to a better experience for the new player and less work for the dev team to improve on the new player experience. And let's be honest, WoW has never had a good new player experience. When I first picked up the WoW Battle Chest back in Wrath of the Lich King, it came with 2 different books, one explaining the lore of the world, and one explaining how to play the game. An entire manual as thick as a D&D manual on how to play this game. But we have far moved past getting physical copies of the game, and most sales are done digitally. WoW needs to step it up and bring their game into modern times and better integrate a tutorial in the game the way the majority of people will purchase it. This video started out as an experiment to determine whether or not this free trial is worth it because of the section of the game that it takes place in. But my conclusion is that the free trial is subpar because it feels uncared for. It's a ballroom set for a beautiful wedding with dirty silverware on the tables. It's a perfectly smoked rack of ribs with watery, unseasoned barbecue sauce on it. It's a game that has put more time and energy into figuring out how to get more money out of entrenched players than figuring out how to make a more enjoyable experience for newcomers. WoW is a fun game. As my wife says, they must be doing something right or they wouldn't be here. And I'm not here to say that it isn't fun. Far from it. What I'm saying is there is no reason that it can't be better. If they're going to go out of their way to promote this game to people who have never played a game like this, then they need to do better at making the new player experience enjoyable to everyone and stop relying on outside help. Thanks for watching. I've been wanting to make this video for some time now, and I'd like to thank Josh Strife Hayes' video about MMO content that gave me the final push to actually make it. If you want to see more of me, you know what to do. If you want to see more of my wife doing something where she actually knows what she's doing, you can find her on Twitch. She makes dragons. See you next time, and have a good day. Alright, there was no place to fit this in the original video, but I just wanted to share something that royally pissed me off about this game. What is this? Why is it here? This is Battle Shout. It gives you an hour boost to attack for you and your party within a 15-second cooldown. Sounds good, right? No! Why is it here? There is no reason for me not to have this up, so why would I ever not have it up? And if I'm always going to have it up with its long buff time and trivial cooldown, then why isn't it just a passive ability? There is no strategy to having this as a button. There is no risk reward for pressing it at the right time. This is just maintenance, and if there's anything I hate in a game, it's arbitrary maintenance for no good reason to be there. There are 100 different ways to design this ability to be better. Add it to Victory Rush. Make it an AoE ability that goes up when you kill an enemy. Make the cooldown longer and the duration shorter so it's more of a risk and strategy when to use it. Just make it so it's always on. I don't care. This isn't gameplay. This is button bloat. Whoever designed this is an idiot.